Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brain Bean here again, and today we're going to be tackling the question of, do faster keyboard switches actually matter for gaming? Let's do some keyboard science and find out. So in this video, we're tackling switch speed and how much it actually matters to us when playing games. And the one thing you see in common on just about any gaming keyboard or any switch kind of marketed for gaming is a shorter actuation distance, or a shorter distance that you have to push the key down in order to register a stroke in the computer. So in theory, yeah, you would think that you would be able to, be a little bit quicker on the draw and get your commands in the computer. But I've always said that I feel like a switch isn't gonna make a faster human. So even though it can register quicker, it's still not gonna make you able to perform quicker as a person. And when you look at the difference between a gaming switch typically being around, let's say, 1.2 to 1.5 millimeter actuation, and then you look at your typical more typist-centric switches, which are gonna be more around the 2 millimeter mark, it's not a big difference, and I really don't expect to see that much difference here when we get into the testing. Now, with that being said, there is one place that you can typically notice faster switches, and that is when you're typing. And I feel like it's a lot easier to mistype on these shorter travel touchier keys. So with that, I mean, maybe I'm not 100% right here. We're gonna find that out. So, on to the science. The way we're gonna test this is I've got a bunch of different keyboards on hand, and we're gonna be testing some really fast gaming-centric switches like the Fnatic low profiles, as well as some stuff on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So we've got some Holy Pandas, we've got some Hako Clears, some more heavier kind of tactile typist-centric switches that you typically wouldn't associate with gaming. And I think that by going with the fast gaming stuff, maybe we'll throw like some Cherry MX Blues or something for a more middle-of-the-road switch, and then the heavier, more tactile-y typist switches, and kind of give us a really broad spectrum. And the way I want to test this is by loading up a reaction speed tester, which is essentially going to flash a color on the screen. You hit the key as quick as you can, and it's going to measure the speed. Now, I realize this isn't the most scientific test in terms of, we could use a robot and do all that, and we definitely probably would notice a difference because those distances are different, but that's not really the point of this test. The point is, will it make you a better gamer? And what that means to me is to be able to see something on screen, process that in your brain, and react to it. And if these switches really are better for that, we will notice a little bit of faster times on the gaming-centric switches than we will with the other switches. Now, I personally don't really think we're gonna notice much of a difference, because even though these switches are quicker, they're not gonna make you a faster human, if that makes sense. And I game on Holy Pandas all the time, and I prefer those switches. I haven't noticed, that I've been playing like crap or anything.
You might not notice it, but you still suck.
So even though this isn't the most sciencey science experiment that's ever been scienced, there are a couple of things I'm gonna do to try and at least ensure the accuracy of these tests. The first being just a couple of simple warm-up rounds. I'm gonna do about 25 sets to just eliminate me getting better at this game over the course of the testing, skewing the results. Second, we're gonna be using the same USB-C cable on as many of the boards as is possible to eliminate different cables and input lag and stuff being a factor. And then lastly, we're gonna do about 100 sets per keyboard and average all that out. And I think hopefully that'll give us a good enough data set to start and see some trends if there are any to be seen. So with that, I've got a lot of mundane time ahead of me. Let's get into it.
2 hours later.
So the first keyboard I'm gonna test is the Fnatic Streak 65, which has a 1 millimeter actuation on these Fnatic low profile speed switches. And I'm gonna do a set of 25 and then switch keyboards, do another set of 25, and do all the keyboards 4 different rounds. And the reason I'm gonna break it up this way is, again, just to eliminate me getting better at it affecting it. Because I think if I did 100 on one board and then swapped out and swapped out and swapped out, by the end I could be better at it just because I've been doing this for a while. So that's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna get started. 25, here we go. All right, so we finished the first set of 25 with the Fnatic Streak 65. Now we're gonna do the Ducky 1-2 Mini with Cherry MX Browns and do another set of 25. Okay, so now that I've tested these first 4 keyboards, I've already started to notice a bit of a pattern. I'm not gonna spill the beans on that just yet, but I think to round out all of this, for the sake of the science, I want to take this Razer Huntsman V2 with the analog switches with the dynamic actuations that I showed in my last video, and I'm gonna crank that as low as it'll go, all the way down to the full 3.6 millimeter, which is the longest actuation distance out of anything I have on hand here, just to create some contrast, which I think will really kind of sell this point. So I'm gonna start that up here now, and we'll get to the results. All right, the results are in, the testing is finished, the tedium is over. That seriously was the worst experience out of any video making yet. I hated that. That was terrible. So I hope you guys appreciate the science that I did for you here. Also, let's see how many times I can say science in this video. So now it's time to find out once and for all, does switch speed really make a difference for gaming? So let's take a look at the keyboards that I used for this. The Fnatic Streak 65 with its 1mm actuation low profile speed switches. Now these are gonna be the quick ones, you know, the fastest actuation that I had available to me. So naturally I'm expecting these to be the quickest time if that really does make a difference. We've also got a Ducky 1.2 Mini with Cherry MX Browns with a 2mm actuation. And then we've got the Holy Pandas, and these are a 1.9mm actuation, a little bit heavier spring on these as well, but using just regular matrix keycaps. And then we've got another keyboard with Hako clears with SA profile keycaps on them, so a heavier switch as well, 1.9mm actuation, and those kind of bigger, chunkier SA profile keycaps aren't the most nimble, you know, more typist friendly, but I would say they're not that enjoyable, at least for me, for gaming. And then to really throw a curveball in there, like I mentioned, we've got the Razer Huntsman V2 with that actuation point set as low as it'll go, all the way down to 3.6 millimeters, to really try and make more contrast for the purposes of this comparison. All right, so getting into the actual results here, the Fnatic, after 100 keystrokes on the reaction test, got an average of 245 milliseconds. Moving on to the Cherry MX Browns, we got an average of 250 milliseconds. The Holy Pandas also had an average of 245 milliseconds. The Hako Clears with those big SA profile keycaps at 256 milliseconds. And then, funny enough, the Razer switches at the deep 3.6 millimeter, 242 milliseconds. So what this shows me in looking at it is really it's all kind of within the same ballpark. It's all about 250 milliseconds or so when you average it all out. And that tells me that, like I've said before, and this really just kind of affirms what I expected to be true, but really this proves it, is that you can have the fastest switches in the world, but it doesn't make a faster human. Simply put, you know, we bottleneck ourselves as humans essentially when it comes to how fast this hardware is going to be able to perform and send those commands into the computer. So, you know, that goes back to what I have said in pretty much every switch guide or switch video that I've ever made. Ultimately, it all boils down to choosing a switch that you like the feel of, you like the tactility of, the weight of. Personal preference is going to make the biggest impact. If you have a switch that feels good to use for you, you're going to perform better with it. Now, the top 1% of gaming pros with superhuman reflexes, I do think they probably will notice a difference, but for the vast majority of us out there, I think the rule of using what feels best for you is going to apply. And you know, there are other factors with these switches as well, like debounce delay, reset points, stuff like this. But again, that all falls into how fast are you as a human. So I think with that, we can put this to rest that your switch speed isn't going to make a difference for you as a gamer unless you're already a top tier pro, in which case I would also wager they can still wipe the floor with you with any switch they want. But anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. And also, if you're interested in checking out more switches, I'll leave a link to my full switch guide for beginners down in the description as well. But as always, guys, if you made it this far into the video, I'd love to see you subscribe, as I've got a lot more videos like this. Hopefully not as tedious sciencey videos, but we'll see what you guys think of this one in the future. Give this video a like if you got something out of it. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at BrainBeanGaming. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's BrainBean here again, and today we're gonna be getting to the bottom of do switch speeds faster make you? Do switch speeds faster make you? Okay, so over the course of this testing, I got to thinking because, shut up. This is gonna be fun to edit later. God, we just get it right one time.